Graphical Techniques. We've talked about graphs ever since Chem 1, so some of this should be review for you. You also talk about this in math class a lot. So best fit, you're plotting your points and then you're going to show your straight line. So in your IA, both your independent variable and your dependent variable should be found quantitatively, so numerical values, and then you can graph that to show that relationship. Sometimes you want to plot that best fit line and then use that slope to decide if it's a direct relationship or an inverse relationship. You can also extrapolate values on that line, which means you're going to go past the range of your measurements, or you could look at them in between the measurements that you took. Finding the gradient is just another fancy word for slope. So you use your y equals mx plus b, so the change in y over the change in x, dependent over independent. So make sure that when you're graphing your graphs for your IA, that you're putting the dependent variable on the y and the independent variable on the x value. Then you can talk about inverse versus direct. If you are graphing and you come up with a curve that's an inverse relationship, if it's a straight line, then it's a direct relationship. You could look at the slope. If it's a negative, you could talk about how they're inversely related. So sometimes you might even need to change what it is that you're putting on your y-axis or your x-axis. You might need to do 1 over temperature, or you might need to do a natural log. There's various equations out there. For example, the Arrhenius reaction or the Arrhenius equation to find the activation energy using temperature and rate. Those are not necessarily as is. You have to do like 1 over the temperature when you're graphing that. And then finally, I will post a link to this video again. You really do need to watch this video before you turn in your final draft of your IA. It talks about what IB looks for in terms of a graph on your IA, and all of you should have graphs on your IAs.